I have an extended reading for us this morning. It's by the Reverend Sara Smalley, who's one of the creators of UU Wellspring, which is a uniquely Unitarian Universalist curriculum for spiritual deepening. And this is called Everyday Theology. Sara writes the following. It is often said that Unitarian Universalists do not have a sacred text. Christians have the Bible, Muslims have the Quran, but as Unitarian Universalists, we look everywhere. Poetry, science, nature, music. We believe religious inspiration is not confined to the pages of a single sacred text, but rather can be found the world over. This wide religious expanse is at the heart of our spiritual journeys and at the core of our Unitarian Universalist values. But while our search as Unitarian Universalists might be broad and wide, is it also deep? If we are looking everywhere, how do we focus our gaze on what's really important? A metaphor to illustrate this tension. Imagine the truth, or in traditional religious language, imagine God, as a rushing, tumbling river. We stand on this river's shores and dip our fingertips in it from time to time. We linger there, feeling baptized by beauty and mystery. But at some point, we do have to turn around and face our daily lives, leaving that life-giving water in the background. But religion offers us a bucket, a way to carry the divine with us. Through parable, ritual, and fellowship, religion becomes a container for meaning. Fundamentalist religions seem to confuse the bucket for the water. They use rules and doctrine to build solid, watertight containers. But inside, those buckets might remain dry, and some members might feel spiritually parched. Thankfully, Unitarian Universalists, we don't impose a rigid container on anyone. We know that the water is what's important. But before we get too self-satisfied, though, I wonder, do Unitarian Universalists sometimes throw out the bucket entirely? Do we focus so much on being able to believe whatever we want that we are left with nothing to hang on to? To paraphrase the writer Lillian Daniel, anyone can find God in a sunset. We know what it's like to touch the holy. But do we also know how to carry it with us into our daily lives and into our hurting world? Unitarian Universalism, it doesn't offer a ready-made bucket, but it does invite us to create our own. This doesn't just magically happen. It takes work. One way we can create a container of meaning that holds our deepest life experiences and biggest spiritual questions is by weaving together our own personal understanding of the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. These 6 sources are, briefly, direct experience, prophetic women and men, world religions, Jewish and Christian teachings, humanist teachings, and earth-centered traditions. They offer us inspiration, courage, wisdom, love, reason, and connection. There is so much to say about all of these 6 sources, but none is more important than the first. It is in many ways what sets Unitarian Universalists apart. The first source of religious inspiration for UUs is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. This is the sacred text upon which our faith is built. Not a hard-bound holy book, but a testament, the testament of our own lives. Thus, in much the same way that a Christian theologian reads the Bible, a Unitarian Universalist theologian might read her or his own life, studying it closely for inspiration and meaning. In the words of the Reverend Jen Crow, a UU minister and one of the creators of UU Wellspring, taken from the Greek words theos, meaning God, and logos, meaning word or reason, the word theology is generally understood to be any reasoned discourse concerning religion, spirituality, or God. Some define theology as talk of that which is of ultimate concern. Others call theology God talk, and still others term it meaning-making. For Unitarian Universalists, theological reflections tend to include reflection upon our own personal life experiences, the use of our conscience and reason, appreciation of the beliefs of others, and a commitment to the revelation of truth as an ongoing phenomenon. I view theology as the individual system of meaning-making we each develop throughout our lives. Largely dependent upon our own individual contexts, our theology helps us to make sense of the world and the events that take place in it, and it becomes the framework upon which we tell our stories. So, in other words, you are a theologian, reading and interpreting your own life. The Reverend Kathleen McTeague, director of the UU College of Social Justice, makes time for this personal reflection every night. She writes, "My spiritual practice consists of this. I think back on the events of the day and ask the question, where was God in this day? It's a question that can be asked in a dozen different theological voices, and if God language fails to resonate, then we might ask merely, where today did I really hear the language of my life?" The question puts a sheen of attentiveness and care on even the most mundane dimensions of the day. It gives us a way to cradle the moments of the day just lived and to see them again before they're too far away. Being the theologian of your own life is the work of meaning-making and bucket building. It is the work of looking closely and deeply at your authentic self, your relationships, and your world, and finding there purpose and connection. You might ask yourself, where was God in this day? How has direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder, how has it changed me? What shows up again and again as my ultimate concern?